So I totally understand now why I actually don't like my YouTube videos, and I think the main reason why I don't like my own YouTube videos is the fact that I never really found the right angle to record my YouTube videos. I was always watching other creators and I was asking why do their videos look so good, not just the resolution, because I would say my resolution right now, since I got a new camera about like 6 months ago, is actually on par with a lot of YouTubers out there. But my real issue was I never found that right camera angle, and honestly, I really do think the right camera angles really do make a big difference when it comes to YouTube, when it comes to how people perceive you as a person, how they look at you, how your body language is moved, and things like that. And up until this point, my camera angle has literally been a piece of crap. So from here on out, I think this is much more of a better camera angle than the other camera angle that I actually have, trying to get more of my body on the actual video and things like that. But anyway, we're not really here to talk about that. I just wanted to say that I'm going to be trying this camera angle out because honestly, I think this is a better camera angle for all you guys and it makes me happy as well. But anyway, you read the title of this video, and in this video, I want to talk about me playing Super Mario Odyssey for the first time. I actually just played it recently and I actually just beat it for the first time, and I know to a lot of you this may actually be a big shocker because, well, I never actually thought I was going to play Super Mario Maker, or Maker, I don't know why I'm saying Maker, Super Mario Odyssey for the first time. So I apologize again if I said Super Mario Maker. I meant to say Super Mario Odyssey, the 3D platformer on the Nintendo Switch that came out in 2017. So you can see this game is relatively old. It's not new anymore, and a lot of people already played this game. Also, take a look at my crazy hair because yes, I will be getting a haircut very soon. That's usually why I always have a beanie on, because I'm a little bit self-conscious to myself. But yeah, I'm just going to show it now because I'm not in the mood to get a beanie, so we're just going to continue. But yes, I did play Super Mario Odyssey. I just want to say really quickly, you read the title as well, this is going to be spoiler heaven because this game is already old, and if you haven't played this game, I'm giving you a big fat warning now. There's going to be tons of spoilers in this video, and I'm not going to wait to just put them at the end of the video like some people, or tell you when the spoilers are actually going to be coming up in this video. I'm actually just going to be talking all over the place about my experience with Super Mario Odyssey. Now really quickly, before I talk about Super Mario Odyssey, I actually want to talk about a lot of 3D Mario, since I do have a pretty good scope of playing 3D Marios. Do I say they're better than 2D Marios? It's really tough, and it really just boils down to how I'm feeling. Some days I like 2D Mario, and some days I like 3D Mario, because if you look at it, they're both two different experiences. 2D Mario can be fun in itself because it's 2D Mario. You jump on blocks, you get different power-ups, you go from left to right, and then in 3D Marios, they're really in big open spaces, and there's so much stuff they can do differently than outside of 2D Marios that I think for a lot of people would probably say 3D Mario is definitely the better option than 2D Mario, but to each their own, and they're both so different and things like that. It's really hard to say which one's better, but I have played a lot of 3D Marios in my day. For instance, one of my favorite Mario games definitely has to be Super Mario 64. Granted, I never actually grew up with the original Super Mario 64. It actually came out around the time I was growing up, but I was always a PlayStation kid just because, well, my parents got me a PlayStation, and when you're a kid, you really don't have any say on what you get, whether it's like things in your life or just presents and things. And I always grew up as a PlayStation kid and I had no say, so I never grew up with Super Mario 64. It actually wasn't until the Nintendo DS version, because they did remake it with the Nintendo DS version of Super Mario 64. That's when I actually played Super Mario 64, and Super Mario 64 is just a flat out fantastic game. It does have some control issues, whether you're playing the DS version or whether you're playing something like Super Mario 64 back on the N64, if that makes sense. And then on top of that, I did end up playing the Galaxy games, and I thought the Galaxy games were pretty good. They're okay games, and they are some fantastic games. I think for me, I played more Super Mario Galaxy 1 compared to Super Mario Galaxy 2, but either way, they're still very good games. And I think I had more memories of Super Mario Galaxy because I think, like I said, I played it more. So that's really why I played that game as much as I did. And then outside of that, I played Super Mario 3D Land and then Super Mario 3D World, so the 3DS version and the Nintendo Wii U version of both those games. So I pretty much played all of them. The only one I haven't played outside of outside of Odyssey up until this point definitely has to be Sunshine. I never played Sunshine on the GameCube, and I know I'm actually butchering the name when it comes to Sunshine. I can't say shine correctly or something, but that's okay. Yeah, just that game I heard has a lot of problems, and that's really a hit or miss game for a lot of people. And for me, I honestly really don't have any desire to go to Super Mario Sunshine, so honestly I don't think I'll ever play that in my lifetime. And now let's stop beating around the bush, because I know some people just don't want to hear me talk about my past experiences with Mario and things like that. They just want me to get right onto the point. Let's talk about my experience with actually Super Mario Odyssey, because like I said, I finally played it for the first time. Now all the footage that you are going to see from me is going to be stuff from like trailers and E3s and things like that, because well, I don't actually own the game. I still to this day never bought it. I actually got this game from a friend, and they let me borrow this game, so I don't have contact to actually, or I don't actually have a way to record the video, and I don't want to take other people's gameplay unless it's like trailer footage or E3 footage, because that's fair game. So that's what I'm going to be showing you in this video. So I'm not going to really be showing you the parts I'm talking about. I'll just be showing you footage from the game so you can get a kind of an idea of what the game looks like. But let's be honest, you guys probably already know what Super Mario Odyssey looks like, because so many people already played that game. It's still one of the best games on the Switch. I'd still probably say it's top 3 or top 5 material when it comes to the Nintendo Switch, because that game is a flat out fantastic game. So basically, when I started playing the game, I had some mixed feelings about the game. I like the fact that they're trying a whole bunch of new things with Super Mario Odyssey. Like for instance, I love Cappy in that game. I also love the fact that that game is a game that definitely does have a lot of control, and you have a lot of different Mario moves at your disposal, whether we're talking about Cappy, whether we're talking about jumping, whether we're talking about rolling, whether we're talking about just different mechanics. I actually love some of the mechanics that Mario has at his disposal. I think the thing that makes that game the greatest is definitely the Cappy suit. I love the Cappy hat, excuse me, and the Cappy hat is just flat out fantastic, and it really does make you feel somewhat of a really cool person throwing the hat all around. And it's also cool in that game, I did play a little bit of multiplayer in that game, where somebody who's playing right beside you can actually be Cappy and actually control the hat at will, which is actually fun. It does kind of suck they don't have a proper multiplayer mode in that game. It is strictly somebody actually playing it as Cappy, and they can't play as like Luigi or Peach, just like 3D World had true multiplayer. It is what it is, but it's still better than nothing. I think without the Cappy hat, that game would just be kind of a dull game in my opinion. I don't like a lot of aspects of Super Mario Odyssey, to be honest. I think it's an okay game. I don't understand why basically people always hype that game up. So that pretty much tells you how I'm feeling about the game. I think it's an okay game. I don't know if it's my favorite 3D Mario, because there is so many good 3D Marios. We have Super Mario 64, we have the Galaxy games, we have the 3D Land and the 3D World games. And I was actually a person that actually loved 3D World and 3D Land a lot, and I know those are based off of 2D Marios as well. They're very linear, you go from level to level. They're not your traditional 3D Mario games, so it's very unusual that I would say that those are some of my favorite 3D Mario games, when if you look at them, they're kind of defeating the purpose of traditional 3D Mario games. So it's kind of weird, but for some reason I always gravitated towards those games. So basically what I'm saying is, I don't love Odyssey, if that makes sense, but I don't hate Odyssey. I still think it's an amazing game, and I still think everybody should experience this game. Like I said before previously in this video, I would still say that Super Mario Odyssey is still a game that's like top 3 Nintendo Switch material, or even top 5 Nintendo Switch material, maybe even top 10 depending on who you ask for the Switch. It's actually funny, there's like 40 something million units out and about now for the Nintendo Switch, and not even half of the fan base of the Switch has played Super Mario Odyssey, which is actually funny. Now, the thing that makes Super Mario Odyssey stick out in my mind is the fact that Super Mario Odyssey actually has the mechanic with the hat, which I didn't even talk about. So you can use Cappy to throw the hat at enemies and destroy enemies, kind of like a boomerang, kind of like Link and things like that, or other attacks from other games. But the thing that makes it really unique and really stand out, and makes you see the inspiration behind this game, is the fact that when you throw your boomerang hat out, you can actually attach it to certain enemies in the game, and as you throw out the hat to certain enemies in the game, instead of just killing them, you actually embody their soul and embody their character, and you actually get to move around in their character. Like early on in the game, you get to be a dinosaur and go around being a dinosaur, which is kind of cool. On top of that, I remember close to the end of the game, because I recently got done with the end of the game, I remember you get to be a hummingbird, and you have to be in this jet Japanese setting, and as you're in this Japanese setting, you're actually going up with the bird's beak, and you're actually going up on buildings and trying to get around the level, which I thought was actually pretty genius and pretty fun. So you can definitely see this is like kind of like a sandbox for Mario. The one thing I was super disappointed about was the fact that I thought this game would be slightly more open-ended, because when I first saw the trailers for this game, I thought for some reason it's called Odyssey, and I thought they would be exploring more open-ended levels, kind of like how Breath of the Wild kind of transformed the Zelda universe on its head, where it's the first game in the Zelda franchise. It's actually fully open-ended. There's no barriers, no limitations, and things like that. But come to find out, this game is actually broken up into different like worlds or galaxies. Not galaxies, sorry, different worlds and things like that. Sorry about that. My device went off and I got kind of distracted right there. But yeah, I kind of wish it wasn't broken up into different worlds when it comes to Odyssey. But it's not necessarily a bad thing, because not every game needs to try to be this big, ambitious game that's trying to be like 40, 50, 60 hours. It is nice to have a somewhat small experience that's only like only like 10 to like 13 hours long, depending on how long you die, how long you can figure out these puzzles and things like that. The one thing that really did surprise me in this game was actually the ending of the game. I thought the ending was actually very interesting. You guys may have actually played it, of course, and at the ending it was very interesting to see that they had this section where you were actually turning into Bowser, and then you went around crushing stuff with Bowser. And then also, I didn't even talk about this, now talking about the ending with Bowser, you can actually play this, you can actually when you're actually playing this game, you actually have these 2D sections in the game, and I thought that was just a really cool nostalgia trip back to like the 80s, where Mario comes from and things like that. That had to be one of the smartest and coolest things Nintendo actually did for Super Mario Odyssey. I loved every second of those 2D Mario levels where you go into the wall and then you become flat Mario and you play like you're playing Mario 1. That was just ingenious and just flat out amazing, and it really hits hard for people who grew up in something like the 80s or things like that. You'll definitely love those, and those are definitely a treat. Maybe if you're a little bit older and you didn't necessarily grow up with Mario, maybe you won't understand the appeal of those, but they're still a very cool trip. That also brings me to another thing I really loved about the game. It's also something I loved about the game, but I also hated about the game, if that makes sense. I know that's very weird, but I'm gonna explain it. So the one thing I was really looking forward to when it comes to Super Mario Odyssey right off the bat was the fact that I was looking forward to New Donk City, because I sing New Donk City pretty much everywhere. It's in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I also love the theme song to Super Mario Odyssey. I'll get to that in a little bit. And I kept saying New Donk City everywhere in the trailers in Super Smash Bros. And that was one city I wanted to get to right off the bat, and it was kind of disappointing that we had to wait about 3 or 4 levels in until you can actually get to New Donk City. But once I finally got to New Donk City, I was actually pretty happy, and that was actually one of my favorite worlds in Super Mario Odyssey. I know there's not too much to do, but I felt like there was a lot of power stars that you had to collect in New Donk City, and that's something I also love about this game. Talking about Super Mario Odyssey, I love the fact that there are a lot of different power moons to collect, and you can collect up to 900 power moons. So if you wanted to go for 100%, it would take you quite a long time to do 100% in the game. But I think the thing that really makes me love New Donk City is the fact that the music is flat out fantastic. It's still very memorable, and then on top of New Donk City having very memorable music, it's also the fact that I love the fact that you have to go around that city collecting different band members, and then once you finally collect all these band members, you do a little New Year's Eve party on top of the Empire State Building, which was actually fantastic. And the thing that really bothered me about this was it kind of felt like the game was over, and I don't know why they would put this in the middle of the game. I thought this maybe should have been better placed at the end of the game, because you got the Super Mario Odyssey theme playing, and talking about the Super Mario Odyssey theme playing as you're playing this thing going up to visit Pauline, which is actually again another throwback to Donkey Kong arcade game, which is absolutely fantastic. If you're a younger viewer, you may have never experienced Donkey Kong or know too much about the Donkey Kong arcade game, where you have Donkey Kong and then you have Mario, and then Mario is trying to dodge barrels and trying to save Pauline. So that was very cool that they had that throwback as well, and things like that. And I also love the fact that that level in particular was a 2D level. Once you finally completed all the power moons in New Donk City, you went to do that with the 2D Mario, and that was just a blast. And I actually loved the song, but for some reason I thought the game was ending, so that didn't do too well for me. But I think overall, my final thoughts and impressions on Super Mario Odyssey, not Maker, Odyssey, I want to get that right again. I loved every second of the game. Would I have paid for the game if I had a chance to pay the game, or would I buy it now knowing that I actually played the game? Honestly, this is one game I maybe wouldn't have been disappointed actually buying for the first time. But here's the thing also, I kind of am glad I didn't buy the game. I know that sounds really weird. I love Mario. I also love 2D, 3D Mario. I also love everything Nintendo embodies. I'm definitely still more of a Nintendo kid than like a PlayStation kid or an Xbox kid. Don't get me wrong, I love hardcore games from other manufacturers, but there's just something about the charm of Nintendo games that really do embody the spirit of kids and really makes you feel like a kid, and really just is heartwarming games. And that's really what Super Mario Odyssey is all about. The whole Cappy mechanic where you turn into different enemies like Cheep, when you turn into dinosaurs, when you ride different vehicles and things like that. That's really the embodiment of Nintendo, and that's what Nintendo has always been about. They've never been about a company that make all the hardcore games, maybe at the beginning and maybe even during the N64 era, but besides that, for the most part, their end goal is just to make people happy playing their games, and that's what Super Mario Odyssey does extremely well. It may not be the best looking game, it may not be the longest playing game, it may be kind of dry at some points and things like that, but what it does right, it does extremely well. And I still have to give two thumbs up to Nintendo for making one of the best platformers literally in the last decade. They really know how to make them, and it's really hard to see other companies trying to make these 3D games. Like we had recently Yooka-Laylee come out in the last couple of years, and we all know Yooka-Laylee was trying to harken back to something like the Banjo-Kazooie games, but it really didn't hit the right spot for Banjo-Kazooie. Some of the levels were off-putting, the controls weren't the greatest, and things like that, but Nintendo always knows how to hit it off the park. Nintendo knows how to hit it out of the park when it comes to their first party IPs, and honestly, I am very glad I actually played this game, and it'll be something that I'll still recommend to everybody, and I still recommend at least playing it one time because I had a blast playing this game. But now you may be wondering, what is my favorite game on the Nintendo Switch as of right now? As of right now, I played most of the big ones, maybe outside of Luigi's Mansion 3, so it's kind of unfair to say what my favorite Nintendo Switch game would be, but just by looking at Luigi's Mansion 3, I don't think I actually have to tell you guys what would it be, even if I had played Luigi's Mansion 3, because I still think I have a concrete answer. My concrete answer until the Switch pretty much is no longer existing, like we're moved on to like the Switch 2 or whatever the case may be, I really do think that Breath of the Wild is still going to be my favorite video game, hands down, when it comes to the Switch. Of course, unless Breath of the Wild 2 actually pulls me in, which, of course, Breath of the Wild 2 is already confirmed from Nintendo, of course, and that's absolutely amazing news that Breath of the Wild 2 is coming. I think everything that game embodied just speaks to me. I'm a big open world fan. I love going on adventures. You would think Odyssey would be about going on adventures too, but the levels were just too linear. You had to go from level to level. Some of them were short levels, some of them were much more longer levels. I didn't actually like the combat all that much, but I did like the fact that you can embody other enemies in the game and transform into them. So yeah, I think that's why that game speaks to me, not necessarily because it's a Legend of Zelda game, but because it's a more open-ended game, and the fact that game blew my mind with how much open-endedness that game had, and then on top of that, you can pretty much do whatever you wanted to a certain extent, but for the most part, also something that blew me away were the graphics were actually pretty good for a Switch title, of course, and then on top of that, there was just a lot of things I love just by exploring Hyrule, killing enemies, getting different weapons, seeing weapons break. I also love the fact that that game also did an extremely good job of making you feel like you were part of Hyrule by having a lot of realistic stuff, like for instance the different weather effects, like if you're in the mountains it got colder, or like if you're on the Death Mountain, it got hotter and you had to get different suits and things like that. That game just embodies me as a gamer, and that's one game I'll just love until the end of time. I love Breath of the Wild, and there's literally no experience to me personally that speaks harder than me playing Breath of the Wild for the first time. I know I'm doing a little rant on camera about my favorite Nintendo Switch game, but that definitely has to be my favorite Nintendo Switch game literally of all time as we speak. That might change again with Breath of the Wild 2, but either way, those are my thoughts and opinions on Super Odyssey. I keep wanting to Super Mario Odyssey. I keep wanting to, for some reason, say Super Super Mario Maker 2, or Super Mario Maker, but yes, those are my thoughts on the game. Great game. Glad I actually didn't purchase it and things like that. It's just, I would honestly rate it right now. If I was to rate this game really quickly before I head out, I would definitely rate Super Mario Odyssey an 8.5 or a 9. I couldn't give the game 10 for me personally. I mean, this is just my personal experiences. I can see how somebody actually likes Super Mario Odyssey that much and would be willing to give the game a 10 or a 9.5, but I think for me it's an 8.5 or a 9. Maybe I actually want to give it an 8.5 for me. I think that's a sweet spot. I could definitely give it a 9, but I think 8.5. I don't know why it's a 0.5, but there's just some stuff that really didn't sit well with me. The linear aspect of the game's a little bit too short in my opinion. It's $60 and sometimes some of the levels were just okay, but overall still an amazing game, and I'm glad I played that game. Anyway guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.